Welcome to another edition of the Gridiron Report. I'm Jarret Johnson. I'm joined by the mighty Joe Yeager. Well, mighty Joe, Texas Tech sits at 7-4 overall, 5-3 in the Big 12. West Virginia is right there, 6-5, I believe, and also 5-3 in the Big 12. And it's a season finale. It's kind of a old school Big 12 matchup, which is weird to say because West Virginia was kind of a later arrival, but you played enough now that. Somewhat of a rivalry in the fact that I feel like Tech and West Virginia are a lot alike as just athletic programs. They've had some success. They've done some good things. Kind of the gritty outpost. Almost. The fan base is almost ready to fight you than watch the football game,
right.
or basketball game, whatever it may be. Even the baseball teams gotten into it, in the past. So I look forward to this matchup. It's not just some huge rivalry or anything like that, but I look forward to these two teams getting after it, and the outlook of both these teams will be decided in a lot of ways by the outcome of this game, just based on they have a pretty good resume, they're both bowl eligible, but how good of a season are we really going to think about it in terms of looking at the win column based on this game?
Yeah, this a win for either team will take the season to a higher level.
Yeah,
is basically what it does. So, it's not a game that's going to get a lot of publicity around the country, but it's a very important game for both of these teams. As we saw with Texas Tech against Oklahoma State, a game that sort of on paper didn't move the needle for a whole lot of people. That was an extremely competitive game, man. I mean, both of those teams were like hammer and tongs after one another. They wanted it bad, man.
Yeah.
It was a nasty game all the way around, and this could be the same sort of deal with West Virginia. I mean, it's these teams are going to go at it. They're going to really, really want this, and it's going to be a very competitive game. It should be very entertaining.
It's the last game at the Jones for a long time, for several months. Yeah. It's 11 a.m. kickoff, and that is on FS1, so I'm glad it's not on ESPN Plus for everybody out there again. But I have a couple of questions for you. One. What's your favorite kickoff time? Do you prefer the early kickoff or afternoon or night?
Yeah, well, as usual, I'm a little bit different from most people. I think a lot of people, particularly fans, like the night game.
Sure.
But they don't have to write articles and do press conferens and things like that, or do chats and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
You're more of a night owl than me, so it doesn't affect you as much. But I like my beauty sleep, and I like to sort of chill out the rest of the day and take it easy. And so I like these early games. I really do. You get your work done, and then you can just enjoy the rest of the day pretty much. And so, I like these early games.
Yeah, that makes sense. For me, I think my sweet spot is like the 2 o'clock, 2:30, in which Tech played a lot of games in that time slot this year. Mostly because I do a radio show 3 hours before. So that means this Saturday, and I'm going to be going, I know y'all probably don't even care about this, but I'm going to say it anyways. I'm going to be going to family, like a lot of people traveling for Turkey Day in the Metroplex, and then come back Friday, and then an 8 a.m. radio show, 11 a.m. So I am a night owl, but by the end of you see it even in the press box where I'm just like, man, I'm spent from the lead up to the week, and you get there and it's like, by the time I do the live chat, I'm drinking some whiskey to keep the train going, But I think one thing that's interesting that I've heard is that a lot of people like the 2:30 slot because there's a lot of people coming in from all over the state and the country, and you can get back. Like if you're in Dallas, you can drive in, tailgate, go to the game, and still get back that night, late night, get your family in bed and all that. So that makes sense. But 11 a.m. kickoff, it is what it is. Like I said, I'm glad it's on FS1. What about the matchup stands out to you early on in the week?
Well, West Virginia, first off, is they run the football pretty well. Yeah. They've got, including quarterback Garrett Green, him and their top two running backs, one of them Donaldson, and I forget the other guy. But they're all rushing for over 600 yards this year. And around 5 yards per carry, including the quarterback. That's pretty salty. And they average, 190, 195 rushing per game. So that's a concern for Texas Tech. Well, anything concerns Texas Tech's defense because
that's for sure.
They're not really doing much of anything very well. But I mean, Ollie Gordon, from Oklahoma State. Hadn't really done that much this year, and then he goes off against Texas Tech. So, boy, what can Tech do to slow down West Virginia's rushing game? Jacob Rodriguez. Yeah, force fumbles, man.
Right.
And pick, if they decide to throw the ball, let him pick off a few. So
it's got to be a superhero again.
Pretty much. And so I think West Virginia is going to have some success on the ground, and that's going to be a concern. Defensively, West Virginia is very poor against the pass. Okay, so in some ways, they look a little bit like Texas Tech. Tech runs the ball pretty well with Taj Brooks. Yeah. And they don't stop the pass very well. They don't cover anybody. And West Virginia is not good in the passing game on defense. It could set up for a pretty good game for Baron Morton again. That would be 2 in a row, really good games, potentially. Hopefully that works out that way. Tech's got some talent in the receiving core with Kelly, Caleb Douglas. Your tight ends, Corey Aiken had a good game against Oklahoma State. So, the way I think this is going to shake out, I think it's going to be another shootout. Man. I think it's going to be another high-scoring, wild, and crazy game, and could come right down to the wire just the way this Oklahoma State game did.
Yeah, I hope the refs do a much better job than we didn't mention in our day after podcast earlier in the week, but the refs, Big 12 refs are terrible. And this is no secret, has been for a long time. But there's a string of really bad officiating crews involved with Texas Tech, and Texas Tech getting the short end of the stick. You go back to TCU, all those face mask miss and all that stuff like that. Same thing, Colorado, some terrible calls that really cost you. And I'm not saying that you lost those games just because of that, but it sure as heck didn't help. And then even against Oklahoma State, it's like they tried to keep giving them more downs, more timeouts. And there was actually, I think it was Ranger, 21-31. I can't remember the numbers of his handle, but he had a really good breakdown, I believe, in the game thread of basically how Oklahoma State was gifted an extra timeout, which we saw everybody was like, what the heck? And then also they wouldn't let Taj Brooks get on the field, which makes no sense after a timeout. So, but in spite of that, Tech won. So I really hope I hope it's not decided by the refs. I hope, because I expect another dogfight. Yeah. Both these teams want to win this game. Like I said, have that kind of chippiness about them, and could really Neil Brown. I mean, I think an extra win looks a lot better for him. I don't think he's on the hot seat. I don't really know the exact situation he was going into last season, and that win over Tech early in the year in Morgantown really kind of propelled their season to having a really good year for them, and keeping him around. So I don't know if 6 wins would be enough for them with Neil. I don't like I said, I don't know the situation, but obviously. There's still stuff on the line for both these teams is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Neil Brown's an interesting case because, it seems like almost since he's been at West Virginia, people have been ready to put him in the grave, in the coaching graveyard there. And here he is. He's still hanging around, staying alive, man. Yeah. Just like John Travolta for you old guys out there. So he does enough, Yeah. And, he hasn't set the world on fire in Morgantown, but he's been consistently competitive. Mm-hmm. They've been in the middle of the fight for most of these seasons, and again, there were times this year where it looked like maybe West Virginia was in some trouble. Yeah, and yet here they are with a pretty good season, just like Tech coming down the stretch. So could wind up as a pretty good year for Coach Brown. I don't know if he's in any sort of a contract situation where
I don't
maybe his contract is coming down to an end or something like that. But a win always helps out your reputation and your standing with the program. And a road win at Texas Tech, a pretty good Tech team, would help him a lot.
Speaking of that, that's another point. I didn't mean for this preview to go this long, but Tech finished the season 3-2 on the road. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, compared to that was a big narrative coming into the season. So that's an accomplishment. Yes. But their last 2 home games, you get blown out by Baylor, and then Colorado comes in and definitely pushes you around the second half and wins. And that's a pretty good Colorado team. But still, you'd like to close the season by defending the Jones, which is one of their sayings up there at Texas Tech. Also, this is your last opportunity to see Taj Brooks run and play at the Jones. So, there is a lot going on with this season finale, Joe.
Yeah, well, senior day, so it's and maybe that's probably what contributed to Oklahoma State being so feisty.
Maybe, yeah.
Was senior day, and so hopefully that works out for Texas Tech as well.
All right, well, 11 a.m. Central Time kickoff, Texas Tech and West Virginia. That game is on FS1. Mighty Joe, great stuff from you as always. Really appreciate y'all watching, and until next time.